Doctor Strange is a movie-length television pilot from Universal Studios that aired on the CBS network in the year 1978. When the sorceress, Morgan Le Fay, is sent to the mortal plane to herald the arrival of her Dark Master, Stephen Strange must overcome his skepticism of magic in order to save the world. Peter Hooton portrays the title character, Stephen Strange. The film, intended to serve as a pilot for an ongoing television series, which never came to fruition, has long been regarded by industry and fans alike as one of the more faithful Marvel Comics adaptations of its time.
I have things to show you, powers beyond your comprehension. Come.
However, to appreciate the nuanced differences between the source material and television pilot, let us start at the beginning of Strange's career in the Marvel Comics. The master magician, Doctor Strange, was created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko for Marvel Comics. Strange makes his first appearance in a backup story called Doctor Strange, Master of Black Magic, inside the pages of Strange Tales, issue 110, by the year 1963. Strange's origin is first revealed in the pages of Strange Tales, issue 115, by the year 1963. He began as a talented neurosurgeon, focused more on image and wealth than helping his patients. Then, when a car accident damages the nerve endings in his hands, his career as a physician came to an end. Conversely, in the television pilot, Strange is a laid-back psychiatrist instead, who has more concern for his patients at Eastmont Hospital than the formality of the staff meetings.
I've got an extra bed. You can spend the night here and I'll give you a little something to help you sleep. How's that?
Oh, thanks, Doc. You're the only one that gives a damn.
In the original source material, Strange's pride would not allow him to serve as a mere assistant or consultant, and instead he became obsessed with tracking down a cure to his condition. His personal finances soon depleted, he would take one final trip to the Himalaya mountains to seek out the mystic known as the Ancient One. Although angered that the Tibetan sorcerer could not offer him a cure, Strange is brought face to face with the reality of the magical world as he discovers the Ancient One is being attacked by one of his own pupils, Baron Mordo. Mordo makes his first appearance as the arch-nemesis of Doctor Strange within the pages of Strange Tales, issue 111 in the year 1963. Even though Mordo places a spell upon Strange that prevents him from warning the Ancient One of his impending attack, he is still free to make the selfless decision to become the Ancient One's new apprentice. Of course, the Ancient One has long realized Mordo's treachery and is operating on the age-old keep your friends close but keep your enemies closer philosophy. As the apprentice of the Ancient One, Stephen Strange would go on to master spellcasting from the Book of Vishanti, the amulet known as the All-Seeing Eye of Agamotto, the Cloak of Levitation, which grants Strange the power of flight, and the ability to bind his enemies with the Crimson Bands of Cyttorak. Although staples of the comic book Doctor Strange, these abilities and tools were nowhere to be found in the initial television pilot. Instead, Stephen Strange has inherited a magical ring from his mystically adept father who perished in an automobile accident.
My father gave me this ring, or actually left it to me in his will. The design on it's the same as your attic window. I also saw it on your calling card. Says it.
The seal of the ring marks Strange with great potential to become the next master of the mystic arts. 5 years after Strange's introduction in the pages of Strange Tales, the comic book's title is altered to Doctor Strange with issue 169. The origin story is later revisited by longtime scribe Roy Thomas in such comics as the aforementioned Doctor Strange 169, as well as the Infinity War tie-in from Doctor Strange issue number 45 by the year 1992.
What are we gonna call this guy?
Dr. Octopus.
That's crap.
Science Squid?
Crap.
Doctor Strange.
That's pretty good. But it's taken.
In the television pilot, instead of featuring Baron Mordo as Strange's opponent, the main villain is Morgan Le Fay from Arthurian lore. Morgan Le Fay is portrayed by Jessica Walter, who you may remember as the character Gloria from the second season of the Wonder Woman television series. Believe it or not, Morgan Le Fay is actually the very first Marvel villain to be adapted into the live-action format. Half human and half fairy, hence the name Le Fay, she first appears within the pages of the Black Knight issue number 1 in the year 1955, back when Marvel Comics was known as Atlas. In the same year that the television pilot airs, 1978, Morgan Le Fay makes her first modern-day appearance. She would serve as the arch-nemesis of Spider-Woman starting in the second issue of her ongoing title. Interestingly enough, Le Fay does not actually come into conflict with Doctor Strange in the comic books until Avengers issue 240 and issue 241, which were written about 6 years after the television pilot in the year 1984.
I sense something, a presence I've not felt since...
Morgan Le Fay seems to have this Darth Vader, Obi-Wan Kenobi rivalry thing going on with Strange's mentor in the television pilot. Strange's mentor, who goes unnamed for a good portion of the television pilot, is played by Sir John Mills. Now on first glance, it may appear as if the pilot altered the Ancient One from an old Tibetan monk to an Englishman with a goodness gracious talent for exposition.
Put this back on.
Now what?
I'm going to send you on a journey into the astral planes, which are other dimensions of manifestation existing within and beyond the material plane. Dreaming is a form of astral travel. On the lower planes, where it's harmless. The psychic link between you will lead your astral body to hers and keep you with her for the journey back. The ring will serve to protect you.
However, when Strange is first introduced to the fellow, we can see from his business card the name the fellow goes by is one Thomas Lindmer. This, I take it, is meant to be an anagram for Merlin the Magician. This is confirmed by the age-old rivalry between Morgan Le Fay and Merlin the Magician, along with the appearance of the actual Ancient One as some kind of disembodied ball of light towards the conclusion of the television pilot.
Have I taken his place? Have I become the sorcerer?
You will be, when the Ancient One has taught you how to use your powers.
No doubt, the Ancient One would have continued to provide assistance to Peter Hooton as an ephemeral light effect had the television series continued. However, by Marvel Premiere issue number 10 from the year 1973, Doctor Strange finally takes on the mantle of the Sorcerer Supreme as the Ancient One perishes as the host of the disturbing foe known as Shuma Gorath. Originally, I became most familiar with Shuma Gorath as a playable character in the Marvel vs. Capcom franchise. Friends and I would often joke that the Lovecraftian demon so resembled a hentai tentacle monster that his design must have felt right at home to the Japanese developers from Capcom.
I'm not like that, you freak! I made my girly mags and watch porn, but that's it! All that crap you're talking about is way too sick and twisted for me!
Shuma Gorath's name, in fact, was conceived by Robert E. Howard in the short story called The Curse of the Golden Skull, featuring Cole the Conqueror. The name would again reappear in Marvel Premiere issue number 5, written by Gardner Fox, with acknowledgments to Howard's previous short story. Once Shuma Gorath is introduced in Marvel Premiere issue number 10, it's easy to see the creature shares traits and conventions with the Cthulhu deities from H.P. Lovecraft's short stories. Or hentai tentacle monsters.
In the name of Ryle, scourge of demons, I command you be gone! You lose.
Despite any jokes made about Shuma Gorath, in his comic appearances, he is a frightening opponent for the newly Christian Sorcerer Supreme. While the character continued to be an opponent for our good doctor, the second coming of Shuma Gorath from Marvel's Conan the Barbarian, issues 252 to 260, pits the Sumerian barbarian against the fearsome foe as well. Thankfully, by the grace of Crom, our hero lives to fight another day. Many of the monsters in Howard's original original Conan stories contained references to Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos, and vice versa, as the two authors were good friends.
Well, what's going on here?
More than meets the eye.
While Merlin frequently did battle with Morgan Le Fay in the pages of Iron Man, be warned that Merlin the Magician's Marvel Comics history makes Cable's backstory look like light reading. The first instance of a Merlin appearance in Marvel continuity comes within the pages of Young Allies Comics issue number 11 from the year 1944. When Tommy Time is sent back to the era of Camelot in order to save the day, he is assisted by a Merlin the Magician who resembles Nicole Williamson from the 1981 film Excalibur. By 1955, Merlin the Magician would appear in the pages of The Black Knight, issue number 1, aiding his champion, Sir Percy of Scandia. I would say this version of Merlin is the most traditional version, and is kinda like the version from Disney's animated feature, The Sword and the Stone. While the good-natured Merlin from The Black Knight would later assist modern-day Fantastic Four members, the Human Torch and the Thing against Kang the Conqueror in the pages of Strange Tales, issue 134 by the year 1965, yet another version of Merlin would be a foil for the mighty Thor 2 years earlier in the pages of Journey into Mystery, issue number 96. This evil, antagonistic version would go by the designation Merlin the Mad, and is said to have impersonated the real Merlin during this period of the Marvel Universe.
It's just part of the growing menace of mutant violence.
My fellow Americans, I am an idiot.
Aggression, a new scent for men.
Aggression by Calvin Klein.
Fans of the Uncanny X-Men during the late 60s probably know the character best as the mutant called Warlock from the pages of X-Men issue number 30, or once that name had been taken, the Mahayogi from X-Men issue number 47. A more linear telling of the Mahayogi's origin, including all his previous appearances, can be found inside the pages of The Incredible Hulk issue number 210 by the year 1977. Most recently, Merlin the Mad has appeared in an amusing story from Captain Marvel, issue number 20, in the year 2001. There, he impersonates a comic book store owner and throws a huge party while calling himself Merlin, Spawn of Darkness, in order to sacrifice the blood of 100 virgins.
It's just that boys at their age have unchecked desires coursing, nay, raging as a tempest would through their tingling nethers.
Come on, Dad. I'm going on a date with the Venture Brothers.
Finally, by the year 1976, the final version of Merlin appears within the pages of Captain Britain, issue number 1. While his appearances in Captain Britain's weekly United Kingdom comic spell his name with an I and suggest that this spacefaring version of Merlin served King Arthur in Camelot, eventually the character would go by Merlin the Magus with a Y in place of the I in what is commonly known as the Otherworld saga, featuring Captain Britain and the Black Knight in the pages of the Hulk's United Kingdom magazine. When Captain Britain got a costume design revamp from a young and budding Alan Davis in the pages of the United Kingdom version of Marvel Superheroes issue 377 by the year 1981, soon after, Alan Moore would take over the writing duties from Dave Thorpe, and the true appearance of Merlin would be revealed. This version from Alan Moore seems to reconcile all the previous versions of Merlin to date as mere aspects of a central being, even including the Nicole Williamson-looking version, who could later be seen aiding that other Doctor over in the pages of Doctor Who Monthly.
That was easy, was it? I couldn't have done it!
The Morgan Le Fay Merlin rivalry would continue to be explored in one of my favorite Iron Man stories titled Nightmare from issue 150. It is in this story that Morgan Le Fay forms an alliance with popular Marvel Comics villain Victor Von Doom, which is a relationship that continues to be touched upon even up to relatively recent storylines in the pages of Mighty Avengers and Iron Man Legacy of Doom.
You shall not pass me, Morgan.
In the television series, Thomas Linmer's friend and pupil in the mystic arts, Wong, is played by Clyde Kusatsu. Wong actually is probably better known to fans of Doctor Strange as coming from a long line of ancestors that willingly served the Ancient One, and by proxy, became the servant to the current Sorcerer Supreme, Stephen Strange. Wong makes his first appearance as an unnamed doorman inside the pages of Strange Tales issue 110 in the year 1963, and the readers first become privy to the unsung servant's name inside the pages of Strange Tales issue 147 by the year 1966. While Strange is away on his adventures, Wong generally serves as the guardian of the Sanctum Sanctorum. This hidden mystical sanctum, marked by the protective seals of the Vishanti, is located within the mansion residence of Doctor Strange in Greenwich Village. In the television pilot, the defensive barriers are all for naught, as LeFay disguises herself as a cat, so an unknowing Strange will inadvertently carry her over to the other side. Wong then makes a valiant effort to combat the dark magic of Morgan Le Fay all on his own with his magic light bright hand, but he's no match for the Dark Lady.
You have courage, but that's not enough.
All these disparate characters are all really brought together by a young woman named Clea Lake. Clea is portrayed by actress Edie Benton, who you may recall as the character June from the episode of The New Adventures of Wonder Woman titled Beauty on Parade. Morgan Le Fay basically has been given 3 days to defeat Linmer in battle by her unnamed demonic master. So in the first battle between Morgan and Linmer, she hypnotizes Clea in order to take the current Sorcerer Supreme by surprise. After her possession, Clea is tormented by dreams of Morgan and ends up being sent to psychiatrist Stephen Strange for observation.
Don't make me go to sleep. I'll die if I go to sleep again.
7, 8, better stay up late. 9, 10, never sleep again.
While the television movies Clea Lake brings Stephen Strange into the mystical fold, leading to an apprenticeship under Linmer and his eventual confrontation with Morgan Le Fay, the beautiful princess in the Marvel comics doesn't have a last name at all, and she isn't even from our dimension. Clea hails from the Dark Dimension, ruled by her uncle, also known to fans of Doctor Strange as the dreaded Dormammu. Both characters debut within the pages of Strange Tales, issue 126 by the year 1964. Originally known as the silver-haired girl who aided Doctor Strange in the Dark Dimension against Dormammu, Clea is finally named a couple years later by Strange Tales issue 146. Clea goes on to become a steadfast ally of Doctor Strange, serving as his apprentice inside the pages of Marvel Premiere issue number 12 by the year 1973. She eventually earns the title of Sorceress Supreme, and for a time would become the ruler of the Dark Dimension. Similar to the television series, the two also develop romantic feelings for one another, and are eventually married by Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme, issue number 3, in the year 1989.
Listen, there's someone I have to go see first. Then would you like to have dinner tonight?
I'd love to.
Be back for you at 7.
I'll be ready at 7.
While many fans and writers may speculate that Morgan Le Fay's Dark Master in the television movie could indeed be Dormammu himself, I don't really think so. Morgan in the Marvel comics never had any dealings with the dread Dormammu. Instead, I submit that her unnamed Dark Master could be the demon lord of the Darkhold, Chthon, who first appears in his host form called the Other within the pages of Marvel Chillers issue number 1 by the year 1975.
I hunger for the souls of men, and not until I have them will my hunger be fulfilled.
In Avengers 187, when Chthon possesses the Scarlet Witch, it is revealed that Morgan Le Fay used the Book of the Darkhold to summon the Demon Lord, but finds him too powerful to control. Chthon's character design in Spider-Woman issue number 44 most resembles the form of Morgan's Dark Master in the Doctor Strange television pilot. Fans of the Blade television series might find the name familiar, familiar as the name of a vampire house that is in all likelihood named after the Dark Demon Lord, as the magic from the Darkhold itself created the first vampire in the Marvel Universe. Also, Chthon later appears on television alongside an elderly-looking Morgan Le Fay in the Superhero Squad show episode titled Mother of Doom. In some ways, this corresponds with the way Morgan's Dark Master punishes her for her failure in the television pilot by turning her all old and crusty.
Beg me to destroy you, Morgan. Pray to me for death. You shall not have it. I will punish you until you scream to me for mercy. Look upon yourself. Cry out, Morgan. Your agony will be a comfort to me. Perhaps, if your screaming pleases me, I may yet take pity on you. But now, look.
I will serve you in any way you choose, but give me back my youth!
Morgan later commands many demons throughout her assaults on Strange and Linmer. The demon knight on a black horse called Balzaroth is called upon by Morgan to deliver Strange to her twisted arms. In Morgan's second unsuccessful battle with Thomas Linmer, she calls upon the lust demon Asmodeus to transport him to a dimension where she can defeat the sorcerer.
You're a crafty old man. But if I can't destroy you here, you'll come with me on the wings of demons to a place where I can. Come, Asmodeus, Prince of Hell. It is Morgan who commands you. Come and take him into our domain.
While a demon called Asmodeus makes an appearance in the pages of Marvel Comics' Ghost Rider, for the purposes of Doctor Strange, Asmodeus is otherwise known as Dr. Charles Benton, a former colleague of Strange's turned servant of the demon Satanish. A dark sorcerer who leads the Sons of Satanish, Benton dies fighting Doctor Strange, but is later resurrected by his demon master to fight Strange's fellow defenders. Benton first appears in a flashback sequence from Doctor Strange issue 169 in the year 1968. Then in Doctor Strange issue 175, by the year 1968, he would first appear in his full-on Asmodeus regalia.
A very strange party, if you'll pardon the expression.
Doctor Strange!
After his initial live-action television appearance, Doctor Strange would go on to make several animated appearances as well. Strange is one of 7 superheroes fighting against the Chameleon in the episode of Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends titled 7 Little Superheroes. The character also made brief cameos in the X-Men cartoons during the events of the Phoenix Saga, as well as its follow-up, the Dark Phoenix Saga. Doctor Strange could also be seen fighting his arch-foes, Baron Mordo, and a somewhat watered-down Dormammu in the Fox Kids Spider-Man animated series. Strange makes yet another appearance on the 90s Hulk animated series episode titled Mine Over Antimatter to combat the menace of the Dark Hulk alongside the She-Hulk. While the story of the Dark Hulk comes directly from the pages of The Incredible Hulk, issue 371, given that Doctor Strange is voiced by Maurice LaMarche, I kept expecting him to threaten world domination at any given moment.
And you are?
I am Dr. Stephen Strange. Come, the fate of the world is at stake.
Gee, Ray, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
The next time we see Doctor Strange, it would be in one of the better animated direct-to-video Marvel features titled Doctor Strange, the Sorcerer Supreme. Strange also appears frequently on Marvel's Superhero Squad show, usually again facing off against Baron Mordo and the Dread Dormammu. However, this time, Dormammu is voiced by Freddy Krueger himself, Robert Englund. Luckily, Strange doesn't end up like the poor Wizard Master from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3.
In the name of Lorik, Prince of Elves, demon be gone!
Sorry, kid. I don't believe in fairy tales.
In In 1992, the film production company Full Moon Studios intended to create a live-action adaptation of Doctor Strange. However, since the option expired, the studio simply retitled the movie Dr. Mordred. The film features Brian Thompson as the villainous Cabal, who serves as a stand-in for Strange's arch-foe, Baron Mordo, who's trying to open the gate to hell and unleash a horde of demons on the planet Earth. Anton Mordred, played by the excellent Jeffrey Combs, is our slightly altered hero, but makes a pretty great Doctor Strange nevertheless.
Our thoughts, our beliefs, actions are influenced by much more than what we experience here on the mortal plane. Mysticism, the supernatural, the supernormal, have been a part of man's experience from the beginning, and they cannot be ignored.
Cabal's plan is foreseen by Mordred's ethereal advisor, called the Monitor, who is filling in for Strange's master, the Ancient One, no doubt. For a low-budget B-movie, the effects are pretty decent, especially the depiction of what is commonly known as Doctor Strange's astral form. Conversely, in the television pilot, Strange's journey in his astral form is a bit more trippy, and once Clea becomes involved, invokes a comparison to the "Can you read my mind" scene from the original Superman movie.
Now that I've made it into the inner sanctum, I hope I see you again.
The final confrontation between Mordred and Cabal is like the 2006 Ben Stiller comedy Night at the Museum turned into an action film. Cabal brings the skeleton of a Tyrannosaurus Rex to life to destroy Mordred, but he responds by reanimating the skeleton of a woolly mammoth who skewers Cabal like he was Norman Osborn without his plane tickets to Europe. Finally, with the threat of Cabal vanquished, Mordred's love interest in the film, police consultant Samantha Hunt, decides to journey with Mordred throughout the cosmos, kinda like a companion from Doctor Who.
You're a very unusual man. Your father and I both recognized it when you were born. You've been gifted with a clear mind and a love for humanity, hence your choice to become a doctor. Also, some latent talents, which even you are not aware of yet.
Admittedly, the television pilot is well made for its time, and viewers may be disappointed to learn, in fact, that there are no more episodes following the made-for-TV movie. As far as faithfulness to those original comics goes, despite the many differences from the source material, alongside its contemporaries, it comes off fairly well. Even though the Captain Marvel-looking costume that he finally gets from Linmer is somewhat of a disappointment, the costume that Morgan Le Fay creates for Stephen Strange is certainly spot on. The romance between Strange and Clea is well done, and while the pilot can definitely be viewed as a standalone film, the epilogue setting up the return of Morgan Le Fay, and even the apprenticeship between Strange the psychologist and Clea the student, certainly whets one's appetite for more.
I came here to try to help a patient of mine. Not become a sorcerer's apprentice.
Of course.
In fact, if I had my dithers, I might suggest that the Disney film The Sorcerer's Apprentice seems to be what Marvel should be going for if they ever decide to make a modern-day Doctor Strange live-action feature film. When I was younger, though, I have to confess Doctor Strange was far from my favorite Marvel character. I've always been adverse to magical heroes, and Doctor Strange wasn't immune to my feelings on the matter. Unfortunately for Doctor Strange, magic never quite had the same allure that I would find in science fiction. The pilot's effects seem heavily influenced by popular films such as 2001: A Space Odyssey, and even the original Star Wars film, which came out only the year before, but on a made-for-TV budget. Seeing literal old wizards going at it with their light-bright hands wasn't quite the same thing as the figurative wizards with their dueling lightsabers. It was only after I graduated college that I became interested in all of Steve Ditko's works, and was able to completely appreciate Doctor Strange's adventures in the pages of Strange Tales.
I hate magic!
You're the only one that gives a damn.